We love a good top 10 list here in America, don't we? Top 10 burgers, top 10 beaches, even top 10 worst smells. But what about a list we'd rather not be on? Tonight, we're diving into the top 10 fastest collapsing countries in 2024. From countries burdened by debt and violence to those where most people live in extreme poverty, here are the 10 fastest collapsing countries in 2024. America collapsing? Has he seen the size of our TVs? We're practically thriving. But behind those dazzling displays of consumerism, a darker picture emerges. Beneath its surface, the nation struggles with debt, political division, and an immigration crisis. Rising interest rates in 2024 strain the government's ability to manage debt, and the gap between the haves and have-nots, vast enough to park a yacht in. Let's turn our attention to a nation steeped in rich history and vibrant culture, Pakistan. But beneath the surface lies a harsh reality. Pakistan faces a severe economic crisis, with debt to GDP exceeding 70%. Inflation, low productivity, and political instability plague the nation. In 2024, over 60% of revenue goes to debt interest, eroding public trust. Ghana, a nation with rich culture, vibrant music, and illegal gold mining. Ghana faces its worst economic crisis in decades, with inflation peaking at 54%. Despite restructuring $13 billion in debt, poverty persists. Illegal gold mining scars once lush forests. Rivers run murky with toxic chemicals, and communities struggle to access clean water. Chapter 4. Tunisia, a revolution's unfinished business. Remember the Arab Spring? Tunisia was at the forefront of that movement, a beacon of hope for democratic change. Fast forward to 2024, and that hope seems to have waned, replaced by a chilling reality of political instability and economic despair. The economy has stagnated, and foreign investment is at a standstill. Tourism has plummeted, and the nation is struggling to balance its economic woes with growing dissatisfaction among its people. Chapter 5. Argentina, Tango in the Dark. Argentina. Land of tango, world-class football, and crippling inflation? Argentina, a country known for its vibrant culture, is teetering on the edge of economic collapse. With inflation rates soaring and over 55% of the population living in poverty, crime has spiked in major cities. The nation's prolonged economic stagnation and political uncertainty have left it in turmoil. And for the Argentine people, the tango with economic uncertainty continues. Chapter 6. Venezuela, from oil giant to failed state. Venezuela. Once a thriving oil-rich nation, now a cautionary tale of how quickly fortunes can change. Venezuela, once an oil powerhouse, is now a nation in freefall. Soaring inflation, political unrest, and accusations of election fraud have led to widespread protests. With over 7.7 million Venezuelans fleeing the country since 2014, its economy and healthcare system are in a state of collapse. It's a complex crisis fueled by a toxic mix of corruption, mismanagement, and political repression. Chapter 6. Venezuela, from oil giant to failed state. Venezuela. Once a thriving oil-rich nation, now a cautionary tale. Once an oil powerhouse, now a nation in freefall. Inflation, political unrest, and election fraud led to protests. Over 7 million Venezuelans have fled since 2014. A crisis fueled by corruption, mismanagement, and repression. Chapter 7. Myanmar, also known as Burma, is a country where hope flickers like a candle in the wind, constantly threatened by conflict and repression. Since 2021, Myanmar faces ongoing civil unrest and violence. Nearly 19 million need humanitarian aid, and millions have fled their homes. The country's decline and natural disasters leave its future uncertain. For the people, the path to peace seems fraught with danger. Chapter 8. Burkina Faso, forgotten crisis in the Sahel. Burkina Faso. A country most people probably couldn't find on a map, yet it's facing a dire crisis. Caught in the crossfire of violent extremism, the security situation is rapidly deteriorating. Armed groups, including ISIS, control large parts of the country. Over 2 million displaced citizens and 40% living in poverty. It's a neglected crisis. Chapter 9. South Sudan, a nation born into conflict. South Sudan, the world's youngest nation, faces poverty, conflict, and endless violence. Since its independence in 2011, internal conflict has ravaged the nation. 72% need aid, with high poverty and violence levels. Civil war and tensions with Sudan push millions to flee. Chapter 10. Sudan, on the brink of total collapse. Sudan, once known for ancient civilizations and vast deserts, now synonymous with civil war and economic collapse. A prosperous country now grappling with civil war, economic collapse, and mass displacement. Over 50% live in poverty, and aid can't keep up with the crisis. With healthcare in ruins and conflict escalating, Sudan faces total collapse. So there you have it, folks, the top 10 fastest collapsing countries in 2024. These nations are facing severe challenges, from economic collapse to political turmoil and violence. The question is, what role will we play in their fate? Will we stand by and watch as these nations crumble? Or will we extend a helping hand and work towards a more just and equitable world? The answer, my friends, is up to